Right now, I just want to throw out some news and touch on some new events that are going on around this fight. The first one is big news this week, and the internet's having a field day with it, that Canelo Alvarez's sparring partner is Boots Ennis for this fight. Now, with that being said, but I think it's very interesting. A lot of people out there are saying, hey, iron sharpens iron. This is going to help him beat Crawford. But I know my upbringing, being the son of a trainer, you never really had big-name fighters as sparring partners for these big marquee fights. I guess there's two ways to look at it. Just want to get your take. What do you make of it? Are people overthinking this? But what do you make of Boots Ennis being the sparring partner for Canelo?
I would pick spots. When I had a young fighter that wasn't there yet. You know, the camps you're talking about, I was blessed. I had a world champion, or we were going to fight for a world title. We were already up the ladder, and we were fighting for the world title. We couldn't go any higher. But when I had guys at Gleason's gym years and years ago, of course, and I was bringing them up, and they were a young prospect, and I wanted them to get experience, wanted them to get confidence. I would pick spots. I would pick spots and put them in with a known fighter, a top fighter, as long as I thought my guy could handle a couple rounds with him. I would always try to keep control where I thought I had the control, where I'm not going 5 rounds, 6 rounds like I would later on when they got to a certain level. I'd go 2 or 3 rounds, and not all the pros that were there wanted to go only 2 or 3. They were just warming up after 2 or 3. But I would, if I could get my way, and I got my way, otherwise I wouldn't do it. I would say, okay, I knew a guy was coming in town, top name, top fighter. And I thought my guy was at the point where he could be okay for 2 or 3 rounds. Plus, I wanted to know the temperament of that guy, that star, that top fighter. If he had the temperament that he looked to take guys' heads off just to do it because he was that temperament, no, I'm not going in there with him. I'm not doing that. But if I thought it was the kind of guy that we could work with in the right way, I would do it. And I would look to do it to gain confidence, so my fighter could go 2 or 3 rounds with a top guy and walk out of there saying, hey, I can get there someday. I was able to go with this top guy, a world champion. And it gave me something to work with, to build off of that mental part of it, that emotional part of it, the confidence. So directly to your question, this is a whole different ball of wax here. You're right. When I had a guy in camp to fight for the world title, I'm not bringing another world champion in. I am not bringing another top fighter. I'm not getting into that ego stuff because it gets there. It gets there. I don't care what you say. We're not getting paid in the gym. The old timers told me that years ago. You ain't getting paid in the gym, Teddy. It's there. The gym to me was a classroom. It was always a class. It wasn't an arena. I was in plenty of gyms where it became an arena. Oh, plenty of them. I mean, Philadelphia was famous for that, but even the Kronk, and nothing wrong with it, but I was not letting my gym become an arena. I always had a private gym, and we were getting ready for one specific reason, one specific match. I didn't need a guy who's going to try to show that he was better than my guy, that he was a world champion and he belonged to that spot maybe, or that he could put something on his social media that, he got the better of my guy. Again, and my guy is one of the top guys we're talking about right now. So I avoided that. I would bring in specific sparring partners that knew how to be a sparring partner. Yeah, if I wanted something, I went over to him before the day started. Listen, I want you to do this. All right. I'm paying him. I have the right to do that. I want you to move more today. I want you to, I want you to press him a lot. You know what? there was a fight I was getting a guy ready for, and I was worried about the first couple rounds. So I said, when the bell rings, I want you to rush out of the corner and go right after him. And I was, obviously I had my guy ready because we were getting ready for that kind of fight plan, for the possibility that the opponent would come out that way. So I wouldn't look to get a boots Ennis. I mean, nothing wrong with that's what they want. That's fine. And I get it, the style, the size, the length. I understand. It's not a bad pick from that point of view. But for me, again, I never go down that road because I got my guy getting ready for a fight. I don't want to leave it in the gym. I don't want to get into that kind of war in the gym. No, I want to have control of all aspects of what the hell I'm doing in the gym to get ready for one night. So no, I wouldn't do that. I'd get the right spar partners. If I thought I had a guy, I get guys that my guy could work with, and if he was having an off day, he could kind of, have his way and do what he wanted with the guy. I'd have one of them. I'd probably have 3 guys, sometimes 4, depending on where we were at, with the calendar when the fight was coming up. But I'd have one guy where my guy could do what he wanted in a certain way. I have another guy that would test my guy a little bit. So on those days, I might put that guy in 2 rounds. And if I'm doing 8 rounds that day, the other guys are doing the other 6. I would pick and choose. I knew what I had, and I knew what I wanted, and I knew where I wanted to go and get to. That's it.
Yeah, it's a very interesting topic and take, and it's great to hear you break it down that way of the thoughts that go into all of the events in the training camp and the selection of sparring partners, the amount of rounds. I thought, again, very interesting because a lot of the fans out there are saying this is going to help Canelo. He's sparring against a great fighter, world champion in Ennis. And like I said before, iron sharpens iron. And maybe it will. But on the other side, it was interesting to hear your side of how, whether it's the overtraining or I think more the mental side. What if Boots is getting the best of him? How does that affect Canelo going into this fight? Why would you want to even put that doubt in your fighter's head going into such a big fight?
Obviously, Canelo's trainer been with him a long time. He's a hell of a trainer. Obviously, they know why they're doing it. They know what the heck they're doing. I'm not debating that. I'm not disputing. For me, everyone has their own, thoughts in anything they do. And in this specific business, that's my thought. I don't think that I would want too many highly, put it this way, I'll get right to the point. I wouldn't want wars with my guy who's been in 65 fights or 60, whatever, and is at that, 34 years old and getting ready for, maybe, well, he's been in a lot of big fights, but right now it's the biggest fight of his career. He's getting ready for this fight. I don't want to, if I have an older car that's got a lot of miles on the odometer, put it this way, I don't want to be taking it on the Autobahn. I don't want to take it for long drives at high speed because it's an older car. I want to save it. I want to save it a little bit. So, yeah, I would pick spots with Canelo, maybe 1 or 2 days to amp him up, but it would only be spots. It would only be spots with somebody that sharp. But again, his trainer, he knows what he's doing. He knows why he's doing it.